No, that's not.
Howdy, folks. Howdy. 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 What's up, everybody? I'm Connor.
And I'm Sydney. And today we're making a video on why we have been moving back and forth from Indiana and Florida. So we want to give you a little bit of a background first. We actually lived most of our lives in Indiana up until we moved to Florida together. So when we were engaged, I told him that I wanted to move to Florida. Eventually, he decided he would move to Florida. And so about 5 days after our honeymoon, we moved there together, and later ended up moving back home to Indiana. Now we're about to move back. So it's not as much moving as it sounds like, but we did move from Indiana to Florida to Indiana, and now we're going back to Florida.
And that doesn't sound like a lot to most people.
Yeah.
But
Feels like a lot for us. We filmed our video when we were in Florida looking for a place to live last week. So we just wanted to give you some background before we go into the why. All right, well, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go, yo. All right, so while we're in Florida trying to decide where we're gonna live, I know we keep talking about that we're moving back to Florida. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering why we bothered to move to Indiana when 7 months later we're just going to move back to Florida. So you want to start that out?
Yeah, I'm like a really big hunter and stuff like that. And Florida doesn't like really give me an opportunity to hunt. And giving that up really sucked. So that made me miss home and just being away from family on top of that. But I think
And he was still able to hunt a little bit in Florida. Like we went deer hunting and we saw just a couple, but they're tiny. I know people say they don't grow the same in Florida, but it's true. They really don't. And then we went hog hunting and he shot one. And I thought that was really cool, but he said it just wasn't the same as killing like a big buck.
Yeah, it was too easy.
Walk right up and shoot it.
Yeah, it was easy. Icing on the cake, I guess, was just when like COVID hit and we were far away from family, and with the election and stuff.
There was a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, there was just a lot up in the air, and I already wanted to kind of just go home. But
and we lived like in the city, and I know with everything, there were like riots and everything in major cities.
Tampa, that was pretty close to us.
But we weren't in a city that was like getting hit ridiculously with riots and things like that. But we still knew that if things were going to continue going south, we would eventually get hit with something. And so living up in the country in Indiana seemed like a safer option to him. Mm-hmm. So I get that side of it.
Because her parents have a bit of land.
And so do his.
Yeah, my parents live in the woods and stuff. So it just seemed like a lot safer, a lot more out of like conflict areas or like high population areas if anything were to happen. Mm-hmm. So that was the main reason, I guess, for moving up. So I felt I kind of had to coax her into it.
Yeah, we left even a little before our lease was up. We didn't have to break it or anything, but we just left a little bit early. And to me, that just like broke my heart because I love Florida so much. And so even knowing all the things that he felt were so important in why we needed to move, I was still like really bitter about it because living here was truly a dream. And I was like, I would have just done anything to stay here. But I knew he was like trying to keep us safe, so I appreciated that. But I mean, moving back up in time for winter in Indiana, knowing that I hated the winters in Indiana, I just like couldn't wrap my mind around it.
If I can add to that, also we didn't have like a network of like friends or family here. I feel like if anything did happen, like there was nobody for us to lean on or fall back on, so it was just her and I.
I know there was a lot of difficulty also going state to state, like during COVID and everything. So there was also the uncertainty of if things get crazy, what if we can't leave and we're stuck here in our 1-bedroom apartment in a city where we don't know anybody and there's like no safety net of like getting away from all of it. So we just felt like, especially him, he felt like it was such a risk to be there during all of it, and I get it, but I wasn't very good about wanting to do it even though I understood it. But in the end, I prayed about it a lot because I knew that we couldn't come to an agreement on it. But eventually I just kept remembering at our wedding, our pastor specifically kept saying to give your husband the opportunity to lead. And I just knew I wasn't like fully giving him the opportunity to lead when he was just trying to keep us safe. And so I knew that even if nothing happened and even if we would have been safe staying in Florida the whole time, the main reason that we needed to go ahead and make the move was because I needed to learn how to give up that control and let my husband lead. And yeah, he makes it easy. No, I knew that I needed to let go of that. So I just watched a bunch of videos too that were saying things about, like, if God is telling you that you need to drop things and go, then you need to just do it. And I wasn't getting a straight answer, but he was giving me very straight answers of what he thought was right. So I was like, okay, I can't really fight that. We're gonna have to go.
I think being married, like it was never in our vows or anything, but I felt like when I married her that it was like my job as a husband. Like I just signed up for being her protector, and I felt like it was just like the safest move for us. So yeah.
And I know he even kept saying that even if we moved to Indiana and nothing bad happens, he said he would still not regret his decision because he knew he made that decision to keep us safe. So I understood that there's like not a lot of a fight I can put up if that's his motive behind it. But I think I knew that he wanted to move up to Indiana regardless and be with our family and hunt. So in the back of my head, I kept telling myself, I'm like, is that really why he wants to move, or is that just his excuse? But eventually I just had to kind of give it up and go. And I didn't do it with a smile on my face, which isn't great on my part. And I cried a lot, but I knew that it was what I had to do. And I think in a marriage, that's kind of what you got to do sometimes, because if we were just gonna keep putting up fights about it and disagreeing in that area, then we were gonna get nowhere. Somebody's got to give in, or you got to work together. You just can't keep fighting something that's not worth your marriage, you know? Like it wasn't worth putting our marriage in that kind of position, so.
Okay, so fast forward 6 months.
Yeah, so 6 months later, we were in Indiana. I hadn't been happy there, but I knew I loved him, so I was just happy that we were healthy, and we've been having so much fun with our families, and game nights on the weekend and everything keep us enjoying our time there. But I mean, if you don't live in the Midwest or somewhere cold, then you may not understand the seasonal depression that is actually so real. But I knew that he wanted to be there, so again, I was like, if this is where we gotta be, then it's where we gotta be. But we knew at the end of our lease we would be moving somewhere, whether it was Texas or Tennessee. Yeah. We didn't know where we were going. So I was praying about it every day, just that we would get some sort of direction. And I had no idea what direction that would be in. And I stopped holding on to the hope that it was Florida, because anytime I brought Florida up to him, he was extremely defensive, and we had these walls up, and I was like, okay, we're not breaking that, but God, we need some direction. Where are we going? So, I mean, you can tell kind of how you were feeling during that time. Like, what was changing in you that made you even consider coming back to Florida?
Nothing. I don't know. One day I was just like, let's get out of here.
See, that's why it's been so
Weird.
confusing this whole time, because I didn't put this together until later, but one day I was home from work. It was my day off, and I was praying in the Spirit that day, because I was like, okay, we're getting nowhere. We don't know where we're gonna be at the end of our lease. And so I was just like, okay, I'm gonna pray in tongues. Something's gotta happen here soon. And it wasn't until a few days later that I realized that that was the same day Connor came home from work and told me he wanted to move to Florida. And I kept asking him why, and he had no reason.
That's what I'm
And
saying. I don't know. Let's just go. I don't know. Let's just go. She's like,
I was like, give me a reason. I need to know why, because this is so random. You did not want to live there before.
and she wouldn't. So she'd given up on Florida at this point, and she just thought I was just saying it to like
To make me happy.
So she's like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna ignore that.
Yeah, I was like, don't do it just to make me happy, because I don't want to move there knowing you're going to be miserable.
But yeah, she like totally.
I literally just ignored it for
Yeah,
like
a
a
week.
couple,
Yeah.
maybe a week or two.
Yeah, and I was just like every day I was like, we're going to Florida, and she didn't believe me, and
He's like, put in your 2 weeks. I'm like, yeah, right. You're going to change your mind tomorrow. Like, I'm not going to risk that. But I kept telling him, I was like, if we move to Florida, it's on your it's on your terms, and you remember it's your decision and you're not backing out of it. So like, I kept telling him, he can start looking for places if he wants to make that move, because I'm not going to take it under my belt.
She wasn't buying into it.
Yeah, I was like, this is going to backfire. I'm going to be so bummed when this all falls through. So I was just like, okay, if you really want to go, it can be on your terms this time instead.
Got the ball rolling.
Basically, he came home a couple days later and told me that he put in his 2 weeks at work, and I was like, are you sure that was a good idea?
Then she believed me.
Yeah, because I was
She's like super financially oriented.
I'm like, this does not financially make sense. Like, even though I want to move to Florida, here's the reasons why it won't work right now. And he's more like, well, I want to move there, so we're going to move there. And to me, I'm always like, well, we got to get all our ducks in a row. But once he said that he gave us 2 weeks, I'm like, well, either you got to look for a new job or we're going to Florida, because, I mean, you don't have a job now. So
Sometimes
yeah.
you just got to jump and hopefully you packed a parachute.
Yeah.
Kind of how I live my life.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
But it's always worked out.
Mm-hmm.
We've actually had talks about this. A lot of things just kind of work out for me without me preparing at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really working out. Someone took over our lease, had vacation days, and I started flipping furniture, and I got a side job doing flooring, like just for a house, not like another job or anything.
He had income from a bunch of different directions, even though he wasn't, he had already given his 2 weeks and had this time off. So that just made me feel silly again for not trusting in the provision of God, because he continues to show up when we're just, or when I'm like, how in the world is this going to work out? But he continues to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because this guy has so much faith.
It's tough to do sometimes, but I'm always just like, well, God's gonna provide. And he always does. And that's where my faith is. It's not in like, oh, I'm gonna try to make a few things happen. I'm gonna get on the phone and like call a bunch of people and see if there's any side work. Like people were offering me stuff. Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Yeah, sometimes it's just coming out of so many strange locations that was like, this is not an accident. Come on, like this doesn't just happen. So I think that was just such extreme evidence of God showing up for us and providing for us. So I mean, now everything's going through, and still, like you see, he has no reason for why he wants to move to Florida. So I'm still kind of confused by it and still like kind of in shock. But I mean, he's making things happen, and we're down here right now, and he booked our plane tickets to come down here to look for a place. So I guess we're moving to Florida.
Yep.
7 months after moving to Indiana. But I mean, this is one of those things, like, I want to be here, so I'm not going to fight it. You just keep on going and I'll follow you.
But
I don't know where exactly we're going to end up, but I feel as though it's useless to continue worrying about that, because God continues providing for us through all of it. So I guess we're going to see what happens, but right now we're just kind of trusting that everything will fall into place.
Yep.
All right, so that's kind of why we moved to Indiana and why we're moving back.
Yep.
All right,
Thanks for watching. Yep.
Comment below and let us know if there's any other questions that you have about this topic, or if there's anything else that you want to see in future videos. Let us know what interests you. This video was specifically made because people were asking the question of why we were moving back and forth. Thanks for watching.
Make sure you crush that like button.
Smush that subscribe button.
Squirt out a comment.
And don't forget to turn on that notification bell so you'll be notified when we make new videos. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.